Καλημέρα σας, Κυριάκος Γεννάδης.
Good morning, Kyriakos Giannadis. I'm a mechanical engineer and I work with aviation fuel in the Venizelos airport. I have a question to His Eminence, the Metropolitan of Mesogaia. You said something which is very important in my opinion, and it was said by Jesus Christ, "My works will be your works, and your works will even be greater." How could your company, how could church achieve that? How could we avoid this fear, this concern? Because the concern today in society is precisely what both speakers mentioned. First of all, I think that we cannot avoid fear, the fear of something new and something which is rather bold and risky. As I was listening to Mr. Kornarakis' speech, and many speeches that will follow will describe relevant phenomena, someone who doesn't know a lot, and we are fighting against the unknown, so a fear, a concern, should be taken for granted. This is not bad, because this can allow us to wake up some mechanisms inside us. Let me give you an example. When parachutists are trained, they are said that they should have fear and overcome this fear. So, on the part of the church, we should focus on what mind is and what intelligence is. Personally, I believe that the entire challenge that lies ahead is very good in order to understand what is the inner man, not a religious man, not a man trained in religious knowledge, but a person who can develop inside him or her the mechanisms of faith and communion with God. So the major work of man is theosis and not miracles, and this is the church's experience. So the opportunity that arises through the current challenges is exceptional. We have the opportunity to understand the treasure that we have and how we can best utilize it. And instead of being simply religious, simply believing in church, we will become true believers. And we should do that in an era which seems that the culture of faith is lost. Those that built the chapels on the mountains had this culture of faith. Those that lived day to day together with miracles without being impressed by them had a culture of faith. Even in the Christian community, we tend to praise those that are educated and we are proud of them. And this is good, yes, but on the other hand, it's not enough. We should be proud of our saints. So the question that arises is, what is a major work? Well, it is the action of grace in the mind of man and the reception we need to, and this shift from artificial intelligence to true intelligence, spiritual intelligence. Thank you. Is there any other question? Father Vasilios. I would like to thank His Eminence and Mr. Kornarakis for these substantial speeches. I didn't understand very well the second speech, but I understand that this is my problem. I will try to study your text, Mr. Kornarakis. I have a question which is more relevant to the first speech. This is something that keeps bothering me. We say that men were created by God. So clearly, spiritually, men are not perfect, they have a potential for development. But biologically speaking, there are people that have disabilities, especially young people. Has God intervened in this creation? Usually we say that man is in image and in likeness of God. They have certain anthropological characteristics according to the patristic and biblical theology. But what happens in these cases? So science does the best it can. And this is why we need pastoral care as well, pastoral assistance. It is very difficult for people who care for people with disabilities to handle this. This often becomes the reason for atheism. Was this a question or a statement, a comment of a pastor? Well, both. Well, first of all, I also do pastoral work, and I have faced the same challenges as the ones you described. And I don't only have bioethical concerns, but I can see the problems of the people around me. For example, in the institution that we have established, Galilea, we keep facing death. A month, 2 months ago, in 2 weeks, 18 people died. And it's not an easy thing to handle. Or problems of people, well, it can go both ways, as you described. The faith of these people can either be enhanced or disappear. I think that the effort to answer theologically and practically in this question is rather risky. The problem is not the lack of answers. The problem is the lack of faith. And I will come back to what I said before. A person who is faithful is not looking for answers. They don't need answers. They already have them. People who are not faithful, they keep answering questions and getting arbitrary answers. So God created the world rather well, not perfectly. Yes, the Bible says rather well, but the word is perfect. And then there was the fall. And after the fall, we have these imperfections, the human weaknesses. And it's very good that science seeks remedies for these weaknesses. It's good that science tries to alleviate the pain of people. Nobody would like to be suffering. My problem is in relation to bioethics. Bioethics usually, sometimes, have use harsh words. They put forward a harsh truth that needs to be answered in a charitable manner. I used a term in my speech. I used the term merciful eugenics. That's a problem for our society. So I'm not going to answer your question. I will just say that if we learn to keep praying, then the answers will arise from prayer. Not just telling prayers, but be in this praying mode. And church is in a praying mode. That's just a short comment as an answer to your statement, Father Vasilios. I apologize if my speech was not well understood, because yes, indeed, I used technical terms and I didn't have a PowerPoint that could be more helpful, Father Vasilios, so I apologize for that. my answer will be in the same line as His Eminence's answer. There are two choices as men of the Church. We will either keep watching technology develop and be afraid of it, or we will try, and that was the point of my speech, we will try to take from technology the best that it can give us and use it soteriologically. Let's not forget that in the catechesis and the pastoral work, various parishes have used technological means. Some toys, games, billiards to attract the youth. So we are open to the word. But what is meaningful is that my point is that if we use technology without using our judgment, without using certain criteria, then we will lose our faith in God. What's important is to ignite this passion for God inside people. Can we do that? If we achieve that, it would be great. Why not? It's a rhetorical question. Yes, please. The microphone.
Hello, thank you. I will speak in English because it's easier for me to say the question, ask the question. My question is to Metropolitan of Mesogaia, His Eminence. I was wondering, you emphasized that the mind is governed by reason. Reason can be understood as a system in its own right. It's a way of thinking, reason, approaching things. The problem is that many exponents of modern technology, of the machine learning and so on, would say that what they're doing is basically a continuation of reason of the human mind. The way that the computer thinks is basically an imitation of this reason. So I was just wondering, what is exactly how do you get unreasonable from this reasonableness? Unreasonable in the sense of escaping this reasonable as a system, as an enclosed system, and answer these exponents of machine learning, saying that we're just being reasonable, we're just continuing with the human reason. So what is the difference between reason enlightened by God and reason in technology? What would be the difference? How we would approach these matters? If reason is the main criterion of the mind.
Με δύο λέξεις, εγώ θα μπορούσα να σας πω το εξής.
In a few words, I could say that the reason and intelligence is related to the IQ of man, but the mind is related to wisdom. I saw the title of His Eminence the Metropolitan of Navpaktos, and he will talk about terminology. And there is another speech on the concept of mind according to St. Gregory Palamas. So the mind is different from reason. How can the mind cooperate with the brain in order to come up with reason? So our mind is something internal. It is related to wisdom. A person might be very wise without having high IQ, or a very intelligent person might be lacking in mind. So the Church, the grace, the faith operates on the heart and minds of people without violating reason. And the brain is a very good tool in expressing the experience of faith that acts upon the heart and mind. Faith is not only for the intelligent people. Is that understood? Thank you. Unfortunately, we don't have time because the next session is about to begin. We would like to thank the speakers, His Eminence, the Metropolitan, and the professor. and everybody who actively participated in this session.